Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Breaking news, James Gunn and producer Peter Safran from the Safran Company, the man who has produced many DCEU movies lately, including Joker and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and some others, including Shazam, will lead the brand new DC studios. I was the only one that told you that this announcement would come by the end of this week. Check my videos, and it's happened. So yes, James Gunn and Peter Safran take control of DC studios. Very exciting news. We don't know if this is going to be successful, obviously. We can't tell the future. James Gunn, a while back, said he didn't want a job like this. That's interesting. So what you've got here is a producer and a director, a writer-director. So this is a good mixture because Kevin Feige is a producer, a film producer, and he runs Marvel Studios. And that's what you need. But they're going to need to implement people at DC Studios who understand these comics. Now, James Gunn understands Marvel Comics and DC Comics. But what's very important here is that they have to report straight to Zaslav. Zaslav won't allow either of them to take any liberties here. I'm not saying that they would. So you've got two really, really good people that are going to be running this, right? Safran has done a good job. What I like about Peter Safran is that actually, when he has been promoting these DC movies, he seemed like a Kevin Feige to me. He spoke well. I like him. So he's going to be very, very vocal. So these two guys are going to be people that we can communicate with. So that's going to be very important. John, I had a feeling that it was going to be James Gunn. Ronnie Dodge, so happy. I'm glad to hear that. We're going to read the article now. We're going to get the details. DC shocker, James Gunn, Peter Safran to lead film, TV, and animation division. The duo will report to David Zaslav and assume the titles of co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios by Boris Kitt and Aaron Crouch. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe really is changing. In a stunning turn of events, filmmaker James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have been tapped to lead DC films. TV co-CEOs of DC Studios, a newly formed division of Warner Brothers that will replace DC Films. The unprecedented move in which a top director will assume a top executive post marks the end of a months-long search by Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav to replace DC Films boss Walter Hamada, who departed the studio last week. The search had all of Hollywood guessing and playing executive bingo who would get one of the most coveted and challenging jobs in town. Well, you didn't know, did you, Boris? In recent weeks, Gunn and Safran were spotted on the Warner's lot, meeting with Warner's film co-chair Michael DeLuca about future projects. And according to sources, the initial overture to Safran and Gunn came from DeLuca over the summer, even as the studio was in shaky talks with Dan Lin to take the job. Dan Lin was never taking this job. He was someone they were talking to. He applied for the job. That's it. Forget it. Gunn will focus on the creative side, while Safran will focus on the business and production side of things. Both are expected to continue to direct and produce projects, respectively. They will report directly to Zaslav and work closely with Warner Films bosses DeLuca and Pamela Adby. Sources say the deal runs for 4 years and Gunn will be exclusive to DC. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? This is the beautiful element here. James Gunn will be exclusive to DC. Who told you after Guardians 3 and all this holiday special bullshit, Gunn would leave Disney? Disney fucked Gunn over. And he, as positive as he is about them, right, he's not going to be public about his disdain for them. He was just going to do his beloved Guardians, finish it off, then come to DC. As soon as he was doing the Suicide Squad, this was always the thing. James Gunn will now be exclusive to DC. Sources say the deal runs 4 years and Gunn will be exclusive to DC. The goal is for them not just to be producers, but to truly function as executives, even as Gunn will occasionally hone a movie. John, I wonder what Grace will say about this, but I can tell you James Gunn and Grace Randolph don't get on at all, so she's not going to be very happy about this. But I don't care about Grace Randolph. She's irrelevant. People need to stop making this woman so relevant. Her sources have gone. Emmerich was her source. Since he's gone, she's had nothing. She knows nothing. So she can spread her poison as much as she wants. Now, I was about to go to bed, actually, and then I just saw some notifications because my phone's terrible. I'm having trouble charging my phone, and I've been staring at my phone while holding the charger lead. It's been a fucking nightmare. So who knows what's going to happen to it while we're reading this story. Unlike Marvel Studios, DC has multiple films set in separate creative universes, and according to sources, Joker filmmaker Todd Phillips' work on the upcoming sequel, which goes into production later this year, will not fall under Gunn and Safran's purview, and instead will be overseen by DeLuca and Abby, right? Forget this bullshit, right? They're in charge, right? They're in charge. But at the end of the day, Zaslav is the big enchilada. Now, I think the purview for Gunn and Safran will be the DCEU, the connective universe, or whatever it's going to be in the future. Probably the Elseworld stuff. Like, they're just going to let these directors do their thing. But it'll be interesting because, you know, DC Studios means everything. So clearly, they're going to be in charge of everything. And so I wouldn't listen to that too much. Anyway, filmmaker Todd Phillips' work on the upcoming sequel, which goes into production later this year, will not fall under Gunn and Safran's purview. I don't believe that totally. And instead will be overseen by DeLuca and Abby. Matt Reeves, who works under Hamada, has a budding universe based on the Batman movie. It is unclear under whose purview Reeves' future projects will fall, but everything else moving forward would be under Gunn and Safran. Everything is after Gunn and Safran. They are the heads of DC Studios. So what we got here? John, you said last week that it was going to be announced this week, and I was right, wasn't I, John? Look at my numbers. Nobody follows me. Nobody listens to me. And I have got a handle on the whole thing. People don't believe that I've worked in the industry. People don't believe I've been in Hollywood. People don't believe I know people, important people in Hollywood. But just because I don't have the followers doesn't mean I'm not telling the truth. But let people miss out on me in this channel. Rewind the times. Yes, James Gunn. Holy shit. Rewind the times. F yeah, Gunn is perfect. Try not to swear, my friend. I understand your excitement, so I don't have to delete your messages, because I don't really want... Right, where are we? Should we continue? I think we should. DC has among the most entertaining, powerful, and iconic characters in the world. And I'm... Oh, right, hang on. This is a quote. This is a quote from them both, I think. DC has among the most entertaining, powerful, and iconic characters in the world. I am thrilled to have the singular and complementary talents of James and Peter joining our world-class team overseeing the creative direction of the storied DC universe, said Zaslav in a statement. Their decades of experience in filmmaking, close ties to creative community, and proven track record thrilling superhero fans around the globe make them uniquely qualified to develop a long-term strategy across film, TV, and animation and take this iconic franchise to the next level of creative storytelling. Gunn is one of the more respected minds in the world of comic book filmmaking. He came up in the indie film space, became an A-list filmmaker in 2014 with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and its 2017 sequel. Rewind, so excited, lol. Ronnie Dodge. Our Henry Superman under James and Peter will be interesting and exciting. There's going to be some certain people who are going to be upset about this. And lots of propaganda on Twitter. And if my phone doesn't die, if I don't sort my phone situation out, I'm going to wind them up. Hunter Ricky, Movies TV Man, how close are we to get live action movie cinematic Young Justice? I have no idea, but what I would say to you, you're closer to that now with Gunn and Safran involved. And its 27 sequel He jumped to DC in 2018 to develop the Suicide Squad after rival Marvel fired him as director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The studio later reinstated him, but that was the end. Once they fired him, Gunn was going to be done with them. And I told you this. I told you this ages ago. His DC foray to Suicide Squad was critically adored and spawned the hit HBO Max spin-off Peacemaker, one of the best DC things I've ever seen. Starring John Cena, Gunn is currently working on a second season. Yeah, that's why he was so confident it was all going to happen, because he's fucking in charge. Safran came up as a manager where Gunn was among his clients and is fully immersed in the world of DC as producer of the $1 billion grossing Aquaman and its upcoming sequel, as well as Squad's Peacemaker and Shazam and its sequel. His relationship with Warner extends back 10 years and includes the $2 billion Conjuring horror franchise. The Safran company recently re-upped its production deal with Warner's. Ronnie Dodge, oh, well, they can be excited, Phil. They can be excited. I'm excited for Peter because what he did with Shazam and Aquaman. Ronnie Dodge, Disney sacking James Gunn is going to be their biggest downfall and the biggest middle finger to Feige. Yeah, he claims, he's claimed to me on Twitter before that he has no issues with Kevin Feige. I think Kevin Feige did try and get him reinstated. So I don't think the issue is with Feige directly, although it could be. But this is different. You know, to have a free hand in this DC universe is an opportunity for James Gunn because creatively, and he's a fan as well. As I say, Peacemaker is one of the best things. Come on, everyone, smash the bloody like button. What's going on here? Gunn and Safran will work with top execs at Warner Brothers Discovery, including TV boss Channing Dungry, HBO and HBO Max's Casey Bloys, US Network Script Chair and Chief Content Officer Kathleen Finch, Consumer Products Chief Pam Linford, and Warner Interactive Entertainment's David Huddard. DC Studios will share resources across the company. We're honored to be the stewards of these DC characters we've loved since we were children. Gunn and Safran said in a statement, we look forward to collaborating with the most talented writers, directors, and actors in the world to create an integrated, where are we? An integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for individual expression of the artists involved. So that's very important as well. Our commitment to Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn, and the rest of the DC stable of characters is only equaled by our commitment to the wonder of human possibility these characters represent. We're excited to invigorate the theatrical experience around the world as we tell some of the biggest, most beautiful and grandest stories ever told. So they're talking about giving creatives freedom, an integrated franchise, which will be a connective tissue as well, but also giving directors freedom like Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips. Wow. The move comes at a seismic moment for the DC, which for the past 4 years has been led by Hamada under the DC Films banner. The executive departed amid friction with New Warner's leadership under Zaslav, who made the controversial decision to act Batgirl in August and has vowed to reshape DC with a 10-year plan as it seeks to compete with the rival Marvel Studios. Even though Zaslav talked about finding a Kevin Feige-style executive, over the summer, the team started exploring looking at emulating the Pixar model in which you have producers and filmmakers working as executives. That has never been tried in the live-action space. DC released Black Adam over the weekend, which featured Superman actor Henry Cavill's return to the DC universe, and next up has Shazam! Fury of the Gods out in March. As for Gunn's future at Marvel, there has been talk that he could continue on in some form after the conclusion of his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. However, today's news, which comes hours after Marvel touted its upcoming Gunn-directed Guardians holiday special, seems to have closed the door on Gunn's chapter in the MCU. You've already said, Boris, he's exclusively with DC. So that's done. But again, they released yesterday, they released the Quantumania, Ant-Man 3. They released the Cavill news. Today, right, Gunn's project's just been promoted, and then they released the James Gunn and Peter Safran news in charge of DC Studios. If you don't think Zaslav is going for Disney's and Marvel's throat, you haven't been paying attention. Hunter Ricky, Movies TV Man, will Black Panther 2 movie be woke? I think there will be elements of it. It looks like a really entertaining movie. I personally think they should have retired that franchise. But yes, there will be elements of propaganda in it, of course. Right. Ronnie Dodge, Connective Universe at last. John, can Gunn be in charge of DC Studios and direct the DC movie? Yes, John, he's going to be in charge, and he's also going to be able to do his own projects. Of course, absolutely. He's not going to retire from being a director. Ronnie Dodge, DC just slaughtered Marvel. Well, let's not get carried away. It's exciting. Let's see what happens. I'm always kind of tentative about these things. It's a very, very big move. The hiring is effective November the 1st and comes as DeLuca and Abbey have been making creative decisions and overseeing post-production on everything from The Flash to Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom. Just imagine James Gunn has to work out what to do with Ezra Miller as well. Since taking over their posts in early July, we could not be more excited to have James Gunn and Peter Safran join the team and assume the leadership of the DC Universe. DeLuca and Abbey said in a statement, James is a brilliant filmmaker and storyteller, and Peter is a tremendously successful and prolific producer. And to have them both committing to work together to forge this new era for DC is a literal dream come true. We all share a very similar sensibility and passion for this universe, and stars couldn't have aligned any better. We can't wait to get started, dig in, and collaborate with these unmatched creative minds. I knew this was happening this week because I knew once Hamada left, they would have to announce it. But this has been in the planning since the summer. Now, this is why I know that Dan Lin was never getting this job. I told you there was top 3 candidates for this. Those 2 were the 2. I didn't actually realize they'd be working together, but I knew that. So that, I better switch this phone off before it dies, but yes, let's get into this. Power off, right. So where are we? Ronnie Dodge, George Lucas was in charge of Lucasfilm while filming Star Wars, so it works. James Gunn just got a major promotion. Ronnie Dodge, maybe James and Peter was also involved getting Henry back. Well, it's an interesting, I think in terms of that, that's just Zaslav. Zaslav just clicked his fingers as soon as he turned up. Cavill's coming back. Rock, The Rock, $7 were important because Henry trusts them. They represent him. And so they're important to the situation as well. But yeah, without a change of leadership, without Warner Media and Discovery, basically AT&T and Discovery merging, this would never have happened. And this is why John Stankey, the AT&T CEO, went to this problem solver, Zaslav, because they needed a brute to go in at Warner Brothers Pictures and boot these fuckers out. They were causing so many problems, and AT&T didn't have the stomach for it. And here we are now. Ronnie Dodge, come on, like the videos. I'm not the only one. Yeah, come on. Like my videos. I'm not that bad. Anyway. So, James Gunn. Unbelievable. I still can't believe it. But James Gunn and Peter Safran are co-chairs. Basically, all you need to know, they're running DC. That from November the 1st, but they've been, and have you noticed, while Hamada's been spending his last few days, weeks and months there, nothing's been announced. So it's going to be very, very interesting now what happens to these Hamada projects and what happens to these J.J. Abrams projects as well. It's going to be very interesting. Just remember something, though. They're in charge. But if Zaslav doesn't like one of their decisions, it ain't going to happen. John, what DC movie would you like to see Gunn direct? Well, I've always kind of heard the rumor during the Hamada era that he was going to do this Justice League Suicide Squad thing with The Rock in it and stuff. Look, I think that James has got his strengths, and clearly he likes to redeem, flawed characters, and he's really good with that. What he did with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, but Peacemaker more, was sensational. I think James should just do what he wants and stick to, what he's good at. He's not really interested in Superman. It's not his roadhouse. I can't see him doing that. So, yeah. But mainly, he's going to be running the show now. That's very exciting. Ronnie Dodge, what I love about James, he's a genuine DC comic book fan. He knows all about Marvel. He knows all about DC. He's a big movie fan. It's a good thing. And I think DeLuca is the same thing. DeLuca produced the first Blade movie. Michael DeLuca, the co-chair with Pamela Adby at Warner Brothers Pictures. So there's genuine people there now. Obviously, they're business people. Sometimes they're going to make decisions we don't like. But ultimately, I think, the bigger goal is that you've got really good, experienced people for the first time in 20 or 30 years. And DC has never had good people running the show, ever. It's a miracle we got Superman the movie. It was a miracle we got Batman 89. It's a miracle we got the iconic stuff that we've got. But we have got that stuff. And now we've got two people. But the most important person here is Zaslav, because no one is going to take the piss. Ronnie Dodge, Connective Universe at last after The Flash. I'm so pumped for the future. So yes, it's going to be very interesting. What happens with those films? Is this the end of the DCEU? Will they start again? That question's still floating out there. And it's still a possibility, my friends. Make no mistake about that. But we will see what's going on. And I just want to say to the people shit-stirring about Amy Adams, if this is the Superman from Man of Steel, Amy Adams will return. The thing is with Superman, he doesn't age. So there's an element where the people around him get older, and it's part of the tragedy of being this superheroic alien. So if he's the Superman from Man of Steel on BVS, then Amy will return. If he's an Elseworld version, then she won't be involved. It's as simple as that. And there's another thing I want to say about Amy. Amy is a critically acclaimed actress. She may not want to come back to this. So that's another thing. So I've noticed a lot of people have jumped on this to try and stir the shit. It's the Snyderverse community trying to find something negative after such a beautiful announcement from Henry. John, maybe we could get the Deathstroke series or movie now. Well, Manganiello is returning as Deathstroke. I'm pretty sure of it. And that's something to do with James Gunn. Maybe he's going to be in Peacemaker. Maybe he gets his own show. A lot of exciting things are going to happen now. Ronnie Dodge, when do they start work? November the 1st, Ronnie. But basically, you can take it as read that they're fucking been in charge. Things have been happening behind the scenes for quite some time. This is basically a very clean takeover. James was there under Hamada making movies. Safran was working with Hamada. So you're not bringing outsiders in. So basically, there's some consistency. Peter Safran knows this studio. He's been involved with this studio for 10 years. That's a good thing as well. Ronnie Dodge, Superman ages slowly, just like Wonder Woman. Yeah, look, basically, they don't age the same as humans. That's what I mean. So there's an element of that. But I'm still not sure that this is the Superman from Man of Steel. He could be Bizarro. He could be anything. But with the way he looks, being so different, it could just be a change-up. These things happen. I understand. But he may not be the Superman we know from the DCEU. We're going to have to wait and see. Ronnie Dodge, I'm expecting Twitter to be hell after this news. Now from them fans. Oh yeah, they don't like James Gunn. They keep on. They don't like James Gunn, so it's not going to be. And even though James has worked with Snyder before, they're not friends, and I don't think that's going to happen now. But I could be wrong. If Zaslav decides the Snyderverse could be restored, it may be restored. It's looking more and more unlikely now. I think we've got to say the Snyderverse is done. Ronnie Dodge, I feel this is a post-Flash Superman. Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel there's something not quite right there. There's something going on. There's something different there. So, wow. So, it's always crazy, isn't it, when these things happen? Peter Safran, James Gunn, running DC Studios. Even when I say it out loud, I can't fucking believe it. It's amazing news. And this is, I told you that David Zaslav is formidable. Look at what he's done at Discovery. Have you ever seen Discovery Plus? The man is he's a good business manager. So he doesn't need to know about this stuff. He just needs to put the people in place who do know this stuff. Ronnie Dodge, what a last couple of days for us DC fans. Absolutely. It's a sensational result just getting Zaslav here. So I knew what was going to happen. And I kind of pre-warned you all that he would get a fucking sledgehammer. And nobody again believed me. Ronnie Dodge, I'm off, mate. Have a good night. You too, my friend. You too. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. But yes, absolutely fantastic news that James Gunn and Peter Safran are now running DC Studios from November the 1st. Of course, I will do a video tomorrow, which will be my 50th birthday. Very exciting. But yeah, it's very exciting news. And if you've got anything to say in the comments, I'll hang around. But yeah, I wanted to do a video because it's huge news. It's huge news, and I felt I had to react to it. Rewind the times, man. I'm so excited, Mick. Yes, it's very exciting news to have these two people. I always liked Peter Safran, the way he spoke during the marketing of his movies, DC movies. I thought, this is a good guy. This is the guy. Because Fisher exposed Hamada, he was in hiding. He wasn't communicating with the fans. It was terrible. But now we've got two people who will communicate with the fans. Will James remain on Twitter? Will he be as interactive with the fans? That'll be very interesting as well. John, happy birthday for tomorrow, Mick. Yes, a very auspicious occasion. 50 years old. I'm surprised I made it to 50, but there you go. Not everyone gets what they deserve, right? Jeff Hill. Hi, hey, Mick. Good evening to you, Jeff. How are you doing? How do you feel about the big news? James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to be running DC. They're going to be running DC Studios. And it wasn't an announcement I expected tonight, by the way, but I knew those two names were in the mix. I didn't know what way they would go. I mean, I even thought that that Feig would be in the mix, and maybe if he wouldn't get it, they'd look at the next best thing. The Suicide Squad bombed, my friend, but The Suicide Squad is also a very good film that did really well. So it doesn't really matter, Jeff, does it? Because whatever you say, James Gunn is now in charge of DC Studios. Lots of films bomb, my friend. And if you understood the industry, you understand that's the way it works. Some films are successful, some films are not. That's part of the industry. But very, very exciting. I'm very, very happy. Most of the fans on here are very, very happy. There's going to be those propaganda merchants that just can't help themselves. But they lost at the end of the day, and James Gunn is in charge of DC now. I think it's a celebratory occasion. John, Peacemaker was a big hit. So was The Suicide Squad on HBO Max. Yes, it was massive. Jeff Hill, should we put our trust in a guy who made a Suicide Squad film that bombed? Well, it doesn't really matter if you trust him or not. He's in charge now, and I'm going to put my trust in him. And if he produces projects I don't like, I will say so. But right now, his record speaks for itself. He's got an experience and a love. Kyle Williams, I'm so excited. Big DC win. Everything you vid. So my hopes for a recast Superman to put him with Batman. Everything vids. I don't know. So yes, Abraham Herrera. Grace is really against Henry Cavill, Mick. Yesterday on a live, she was talking shit about his Instagram video. Oh yeah, I mean that was hilarious. She said it's not. She predicted something was going to happen. Then she said, no, it's just Henry Cavill. It's just Cavill thanking fans, even though he confirmed he was back as Superman. But just because she didn't like what was going on, she then said, what does I'm back actually mean? It means he's back as Superman, darling. Deal with it. Jeff Hill, he may make everything a joke like Taika Waititi. I prefer the darker vision from Snyder or Reeves. Listen. It's going to be a variety. I mean, look, the connective universe will be a lot lighter because, listen, it's going to be for mainstream audiences, but you're still going to get the Reeves and Todd Phillips stuff. You're still going to get Elseworld stuff. You're going to get a bit of everything. So he's not going to be telling people, I want you to make stuff how I would make it. But the connective universe, the DCEU, or whatever it's going to be, will be for a mainstream audience, kids, families, because that's what you need to do to become successful. Because Snyder's verse was never going to make the kind of money any studio wanted from it, as much as I like his content. Everything new, vids, facts. And, you know, that's the way it is. I know some people are not going to like this, but whoever they chose, there was going to be people from different corners. I know Snyder fans wanted Deb Snyder to be the studio head. Deb is a very good producer, very capable producer. She understands these characters, but it was never going to work with her connections to Zack. So that could never happen. So they've chosen two people with experience, you know, who understand basically what's important. They understand what's needed. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be successful off the bat. I will judge all the projects they greenlight, what they do with these Hamada projects. There's a lot of things to look at here. Clearly, James Gunn can give himself projects, but then Zaslav could say no. So, but the point is that there's a big universe here, and there's a lot to do. There's big work to do here, because the DCEU, even though I like most of the movies, is not fit for purpose as a franchise. Bringing in Snyder for a mainstream universe was a mistake. Trying to rework Snyder's Justice League movie into a cheap and lazy movie and have everyone smile with bright colors was a stupid move. They've been hobbling ever since. Now we have Zaslav, we have good people running DC Studios. It's very important going forward that the right decisions happen here. So yeah, I'm going to judge it as I see it, because that's the only thing I can do here. So I'm not saying that it's going to be successful just like that. We'll have to wait and see. Abraham Herrera, the right thing to do, I think, is to bring Zack back for JR movie down the line after the Rock's and Henry's respective plans. He started it. He deserves that much. Well, look, I don't know. All I know is Zack Snyder is a very good director, and I enjoyed his DC movies. But as I've just said, they're looking to make lots of money from this, and they don't want a divisive situation. And even Snyder has admitted he enjoys making divisive movies. He liked people talking about BVS, good or bad, and you can't be having that. So, as I said on an earlier video, Zack Snyder got the opportunity to make 3 great DC movies. There'll be directors who want to do that who will never get to do that. So he's had his opportunity. If he comes back, I'm not against it. I just can't see them making that kind of a decision because it's complicated. You can't just give him an Elseworld because his actors, who he would need to use, are part of the central universe. So it's rather problematic unless they retire the DCEU and start from scratch. Then he could do that. But I think it's unlikely of the Snyderverse to be restored, but who knows? They could absolutely reset this whole thing. I don't know what they're going to do. They have to make the right decisions. And, you know, the DCEU has to change. It has to be appealing. You know, there's people watching Phase 4 of Marvel. You know, kids, families, even though it to us is not that good. They don't want to miss out. They don't want to feel like they're missing something. This is what the DCEU needs. It can't just be for our age group. You know, Superman must appeal to children, families, and everyone. It's not just for 50-year-old men or 40-year-old men or 30-year-old men or people who think Superman should be a certain way. I made a video earlier talking about the fantasy element of Superman. Putting Superman in a real world isn't an option. It doesn't work. You can do that with other characters, not with Superman. He is a wish-fulfillment character, you know, and it's the question, what if we had someone who could save us? And when you've got people hating him in the stories and not trusting him, instead of cheering and clapping him, it takes away who Superman actually is. And we saw how audiences responded to that. So they're not going to be doing anything that creates these kind of problems. But these problems have been started by other people. And there's always going to be people saying, bring back Zack Snyder, restore the Snyderverse, this is his universe, he casted it, this, that, or the other. They're going to do what's right for the company and for these characters. John, I saw a Rock interview with him saying he would like to see Barry's Joker meet Black Adam. It's not possible, though, is it? He says, yeah, he was just asked which Joker, but he's friends with him. But it ain't going to happen, is it? Unless he travels through the multiverse. Who knows? But unlikely. I think one thing you've got to expect that there will be major changes. There will be major shifts. Now, in the statement, they spoke about Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. They didn't mention the Flash, by the way. They did mention Harley Quinn. Obviously, James is a big fan. Abraham Herrera, watching Black Adam, I was pleased to see another director embrace some of Snyder's visual style. It felt like it belonged in the same universe as MOS. And you know when Snyder worked the best in DCEU? When he wasn't in charge of the story. When he directed Man of Steel and Goyer and Nolan were in charge of that film's narrative. That's when Snyder worked the best. Because visually, he's an outstanding director. I just don't think he's a particularly good writer. So if Zack Snyder could direct the main movies without writing them and, being in charge of the narrative of the films, I think that would be a great balance. I just don't think Snyder is going to be interested in doing that. But his role in Man of Steel was the best use of his talents. And when he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, like with BVS, even though I like BVS, that's when the problems began. And, we haven't looked back since. It's been one disaster after the other since. So we need a universe that everyone can embrace. Not this. We don't want a franchise for the few. We want a franchise for the many. Abraham Herrera, I agree. I'm okay with him directing and not writing. He can save that for passion projects. But we will see Abraham if he's even going to be able to come back. I don't know. I do feel that they're going to be looking to set a situation out where people are positive about the franchise and not create situations that create negativity. And I think that's the most important thing is these DC characters and universes, not directors, not egos. So I'm for DC being given the best opportunity to make great content and hopefully be successful. Because what we're seeing, even with the Black Adam reviews, is not a good thing. The box office, even though it's solid, this is not the kind of money that Zaslav wants to be making. Nobody's fault. This was Hamada's baby. And it was a lot worse before Zaslav ordered reshoots. John, do you think we will see Margot Robbie Harley Quinn again? Well, with James Gunn in charge, I think that's a certainty, yes. And she's going to keep on insisting on it being the propaganda stuff. But there's nothing I can do about that. We'll see what happens. And as I say, Zaslav is a good buffer for us because anything he doesn't like won't happen anyway. So she would have him to contend with. So as I say, with Zaslav and Safran and Gunn there, I think we've got the perfect team there. And if they do stuff that, I hate the word, but woke, Zaslav isn't going to allow that. So going forward, I think there's a structure there in place. They've obviously had full talks. They understand the structure, the remit they'll be working in. Abraham Herrera and Mick, I saw a video thumbnail claiming the Snyder fans were calling for a boycott of Henry Cavill as Superman. That's insane. The propaganda you talk about has no limits. Well, to be fair, most Snyder fans are good people. But there are these, as I call them, propaganda merchants. They're looking to stir trouble all the time because they want everything their own way. They want Snyder back, they want the Snyderverse, and they don't want anything else. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. They're not going to win. They're not going to get their own way. They can boycott what they like. This is what Sujihara did by bringing Zack and Autor into a mainstream universe. And Nolan and Goyer. These weren't the people to run a mainstream universe. I still like what Zack did, but we have to be honest here. And what you've got are these idiots. Basically, what I say to them is, boycott what you want. Boycott what you want. We don't care. Because once we've got the mainstream audience, this franchise is going to be successful without them. So it's up to them what they do. And the Henry Cavill situation, they're hating on Cavill because he wants to do the hopeful Superman from the comics. And they don't like that. They don't like that. Henry doesn't like the BVS Superman. It's as simple as that. He likes Man of Steel. He would like to do a sequel of Man of Steel. We'll see what happens there. But Henry agrees with the fans who want to see the Superman from the comics. That's what Henry wants. Henry's going to get what he wants. And they can threaten as many boycotts as they want. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're going to boycott. It doesn't surprise me that they're attacking Henry. It's not a surprise to me, but it just shows you. Once you claim to be a DC fan, but you're just for one director, you're a fan of the director. You're not a fan of DC once you start doing that. Because Zack Snyder wants his vision. But that may not necessarily be the best thing for DC. But it's besides the point now. He's not in control of anything. James Gunn and Peter Safran and David Zaslav and Adby and DeLuca are in charge. They will do what they want to do. They will do what they think is best. And I think that's a good thing. And of course, it's disappointing that they're attacking Henry. It really is. But there you go. You can't knock sense where there isn't none. That's the thing. You can't. These people are a movement. They just eat shit and sleep Zack Snyder all the time. They call him Lord Snyder. They pray to him. They've got icons of him. So there's obviously, I'm a DC fan. And I want to see the best DC content. And I'm hoping that James and Peter have got the IP's best interests at heart. I think they will. And I think even if they make mistakes, that there'll be Zaslav, there'll be Adby and DeLuca to put them straight when they just try and decide to do something that's not quite right. Abraham Herrera, but they must be stupid because that was Snyder's plan all along, for Superman to become the classic Superman we all know. He was just directing him on the way there, yeah. The problem with that is, of course, we haven't seen that. So people have only seen the other side of it. Obviously, if he was allowed to do that, we would have got there. But people weren't being patient with his vision. People wanted to see the hopeful Superman straight away. He wanted him to earn the right to become Superman. And it's unlikely we're ever going to see that now. So it's interesting. Let's see what decisions are being made. Who knows? They may bring Snyder back to do something. They may not. As I said earlier today, I think the best thing for Snyder to be involved with is Wonder Woman. It's perfect for him. Or Cyborg, if Ray Fisher agrees to come back. Because something tells me he'll only work with Zack anyway. So one of those two, I'm quite happy for him. I think Superman needs to be given to somebody else. And it'd be interesting to see who Superman is given to, especially with this new leadership. But they are stupid. But that doesn't surprise me that they're attacking Henry Cavill. And Henry will deal with them in his own polite way. So there's the Happy and Confused podcast tomorrow with Josh Horowitz. It's live. Henry will be answering live questions. They've invited Snyder fans to buy some tickets to go there to ask Henry questions as well. So Henry's not ducking any issues here, and he won't. But he'll be polite, and he'll have the usual dignity that he always has had. Abraham Herrera. Well, I love the new Light Dawn of Hope because that can be interpreted different ways. Well, Dawn of Hope, dawn is the beginning of something new, and hope is hope. That's it. Now, I know there's Dawn of Justice, but we are really focusing on what the character's famous for. This is what Henry wants to do. So we'll see. We'll see what they're going to do. I've got a few ideas what they're going to do, but we'll see where this is going. And I think we're going to be getting lots and lots of DC news. And I still don't think the cancellations are over. I don't think they'll cancel anything that's upcoming. At least I don't think they will. But there's a lot of stuff Hamada Green lit, which I think is never going to happen. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens with all of this because new leaders, new ideas. We want people who like the comics, who have a knowledge of the comics, who understand film, who understand how you translate comics into live action. They're in charge of everything here. Don't forget, TV and animation. So that's an interesting thing as well. Because for all these years, really, Bruce Timmer's been in charge of the animation department. We'll see what happens there as well. So very interesting. But right now, all we know is that Gunn and Safran are going to be in charge. We know that. We don't know what their plans are, what they're going to do next. And I'm certainly, and as I keep on telling people since Hamada's gone, don't make any assumptions. Don't think what's been advertised in coming is still going to come. Don't make the assumption that the DCEU will continue after the final movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, at the end of next year. They could plug it as the conclusion of the DCEU. Abraham Herrera, yes, but it could mean dawn of the hopeful Superman, dawn of DC in this new era, dawn of hope for the new leadership in WB. This line can be what takes DC to a more positive time. Yes, I agree there. That's what absolutely it is. I think you're right. It means all of that. It means all of that because we haven't been hopeful. We've been verging from one disaster to the other. And you can like Zack's films as I do, but admit that he was the wrong person to lead a DC franchise for the money and what they wanted to do. You can like his stuff and admit, nah, Snyder's not the right man here. And he wasn't, as much as I like his films. Rewind the times. I want Black Canary still. That actress played her very good. I wouldn't mind if she stays. I don't mind if she goes. It'll be interesting what happens there. It's interesting. It's interesting, yeah, because that's not really my main priority. We'll see what happens here, what they do with HBO Max. But if you notice, when they spoke about the future, they didn't mention HBO Max. They mentioned theaters. I don't want DCEU and other stuff on HBO Max because I don't have access to it, and it isn't fair. So hopefully we can release as much DC content as possible via the movie theater. This will be best for me, especially if they continue this 31-day window or 28-day window. I think they'll extend it. They have said they'll judge it project by project, which I think is a really good idea. So if you're Top Gun Maverick, you stay in the movie theater for longer because there's money to be made. If you're something like Black Adam, which I don't think is going to have great legs, by the way, I can see it making Shazam money or just over Shazam money, then it'll be pulled very quickly and you'll be on pay-per-view. Abraham Herrera, I'm over the Snyder thing. He's a rich guy directing big budget movies. He's living the life. There is no reason for me to stress out. Absolutely. And he's made 3 excellent DC movies. Rewind the times. Mick, you don't get HBO Max. No, I don't get HBO Max, my friend. I don't. And many people don't get Disney Plus or HBO Max. But I don't want that. I agree with Zaslav. DC should predominantly be released through the movie theater. Now, obviously, there'll be TV projects, and I get that. And, I mean, like James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I couldn't watch that on HBO Max. I watched it on Sky Television eventually. But now I've got the Blu-ray, and that's thanks to James. So hopefully decisions like that, now James is in charge or co-in charge with Safran, we get everything that we want, even if it's on HBO Max via Blu-ray. So we're not missing out because that's not a good customer service, is it? And I'm sure most of the stuff will go through the movie theater anyway, which is good news. I think the days of lots of DC live action content coming on HBO Max is in the past. That's why Blue Beetle is not on HBO Max anymore, and it's going to be in movie theaters. The perfect decision. But no, I don't get HBO Max, and I couldn't watch the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, and I found a way, of course, to watch it on the day. It was a very stressful day when that film was released. Android 118XX, James taking control of DC Studios is worrying. He's the last person I wanted. What if he makes it fun and funny like Marvel? Already made poor decisions by killing off important characters from the Suicide Squad. Well, listen, if you're looking at for a Snyder-esque DCEU, you're going to be very disappointed. What James and Safran will do is make this family friendly, make it appealing to a variety of people. So he can't tell directors, they've already said in a statement that they want directors to have freedom. So they can't tell a film director to do it, but they are going to be in control of this connective tissue. and it will be more mainstream audience friendly, for sure. Abraham Herrera, I cancelled my HBO Max subscription. I will get it back when I see how the new plan unfolds. Abraham Herrera, besides streaming is about to change again, I have a feeling. I don't think streaming is the be-all and end-all, and Zaslav realizes there's no point spending 200 million on an HBO Max project like they're doing with this flipping Green Lantern thing. You know, Zaslav realizes that the money is in movie theaters. And for DC, that's where it's at. It doesn't mean the DCEU won't have content on HBO Max, but they also said they will sell some stuff to Netflix for more money. That's where the money is going to be made. Because just by streaming stuff, basically doing what Disney does. When you're Disney, you can afford to do it. Just keep everything in-house. But when you're WB, it's a lot more difficult because HBO Max isn't as profitable as D+. So, yeah, predominantly DC live action will go through the movie theatre. We'll see what they do with Titans and things like that. I believe they're going to want the DCEU in theatres and the DCEU on streaming to be all connected. They're talking about one connective tissue in their statement. Kyle Williams, so will Black Adam connect to the next DC movies coming? Well, it'll connect to Shazam Fury of the Gods. It's part of the Shazam, obviously, franchise. It will connect to the DC. We still got these Hamada movies, haven't we? So that's all part of the same thing. What they decide to do when they finish releasing these Hamada movies is a different thing. Do they continue with this DCEU? Do they start again? We're going to have to wait and see what happens. And box office will be another thing as well. So what you can't do is blame James Gunn and Peter Safran for Shazam Fury of the Gods, the Flash movie, Blue Beetle, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the Batman 2, the Joker 2. Or, you know, because the Batman 2 and the Joker 2 will be in, you know, those directors will be in control of that. But the Hamada movies are not going to be these people's fault because they didn't green light. Wasn't part of their plan. So we have to get through these Hamada movies. And I think that's going to be a difficulty because clearly Hamada is gone for a reason. Rewind the time. Mitt, I bet Black Adam is in Shazam. My gut feelings it. I think my gut feels it. I think he may turn up in a post-credit scene. From all the spoilers I've heard about that movie, I haven't heard anything about him. I've heard lots about Wonder Woman. She's got an interesting role near the end of the movie. I won't say what's happened. I've spoken about this on my channel before, but it is a big, big spoiler. Wonder Woman does turn up for a very important reason. So let's just say Billy Batson's really going to need her. Android 118 XX, I wanted our DCEU to be serious and dark, and I'm not talking Snyder-esque. If people want fun and funny, they have Marvel to go to, while DC, the serious side. Nolan Batman trilogy was successful. Well, Batman Begins, which is my favorite out of that trilogy, wasn't that successful. The Dark Knight was successful. Now, basically, The Dark Knight Rises off the back of The Dark Knight was successful, but critics didn't all like it, and the reaction wasn't as positive as it was. Basically, the film everyone loved was The Dark Knight. So, at the end of the day, you can't have a successful franchise for the audience they want it for by making it dark and uncompromising. It's not going to work, Android 118 XX, but they are doing offshoots like the Joker 2 and the Batman sequel. So you will get an Elseworld scenario where directors get to do what they want. But this new connective franchise will be lighter. It will be to attract families, children, parents, and different people. That's why the MCU is so successful. It's a business at the end of the day. And we should be able to make DC movies that appeal to families and kids. As I say, it can't just be for us adults. That's ridiculous. Superman and Batman and all these characters weren't created for adults. Now, I love them as an adult, but you can't lock kids out. Just like Superman breaking Zod's neck. You expel kids from being able to consume these movies. And it means that they're not for families. And you can't do that. That isn't good business. Rewind the times. I heard Superman and Supergirl are in Blue Beetle or mentioned. Well, apparently they're mentioned. Don't forget that's just a test screening. So that film could change a lot. I think that film will change a lot by the time we see it. Because that is a Hamada movie, and all I've heard about it is that, oh, the family interactions are great and it's quite funny. Well, as I said earlier, we're not making a superhero sitcom here. So I'm not hearing about the scarab, how awesome, what about the effects, the action. I'm not hearing anything about that, which actually concerns me. Abraham Herrera, there was a time when all you knew about a movie before going in the theatre was the poster. Now you know even the troubles behind the scenes before you watch the film. Yes, that's the problem with the internet. You've got scoopers. They pay money to find out information. So you know everything. The over-analysis has ruined the movie experience. I was watching Saving Private Ryan earlier and Titanic. Do you realise those films used to be our blockbusters? And now we don't have those type of films as blockbusters because the adrenaline junkie Gen Z wouldn't go and sit through Titanic or Saving Private Ryan. And we've just got the same version of the same movie going into cinemas. That's a shame. That's something the industry will never get back and has lost. Android 118XX, I think WB should take Harry Potter, for example. It's fun, not Marvel fun. It's funny, not Marvel funny. And it's serious and dark at the same time. Yes, and I think that's what they attempted to do with Shazam as well. Rewind the times. Mick, out of the next 4 DCU movies coming out, which gets you excited the most? Let me think. Where are we? Shazam, Fury of the Gods, semi-excited. Blue Beetle, not very excited. The Flash movie intrigues me. I think the film I'm most excited about, actually, because I really like the first one, is Aquaman. I think that's the one which I'm really hyped for. John, will Blue Beetle be in English when it comes out? 30% of Blue Beetle will be in Spanish with English subtitles, and the rest will be in English. I think it's very risky. I've seen it in films before, obviously. I mean, The Passion of the Christ was totally in subtitles. But we're talking about a DC movie here. So I'm not saying they don't have the right to make a Spanish superhero language movie. That'd be great. But either do it or don't do it. Rewind the times, English and Spanish. I love that idea. It could work. It could work. Who knows? I'm not against it. I just think 30% of a film in Spanish language, that's a lot. And I think they may cut that down. Android 180X, will you be going to early screenings for Aquaman 2? Yes. I'm in some talks to be doing that. There were early test screenings for that movie. But that movie is going through some changes as we speak, actually. John, I am looking forward to Joker 2. So am I. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be brilliant, and I'm not fazed by it being a musical. I think this is a Harley Quinn movie. I think this is the next villain story. And this one is going to be from Harley's point of view. So very interesting. How will someone else be playing Harley Quinn come across? Rewind the times. 12 viewers, smash the like button. Yes, please do. We have 9 likes. Thank you for that. Abraham Herrera, I think it's time we got movies like that, Mick. It could work if it's done right. Kill Bill Volume 2 had a good chunk in Mandarin, I believe. Yeah, listen, I'm not against it, but you've got to remember the audience and today's audience. Their concentration levels aren't great. So you've got to have, Blue Beetle is going to attract a mainstream younger audience because Zolo is in, Cobra Kai. So it's going to get a lot of that audience. And I'm just wondering if they're going to have the concentration for it. Let's see what happens with that. Android 118XX, Aquaman movie was complete, but then they did reshoots after when Zaslav took over. Am I right, Mick? That's exactly what they did with Black Adam as well. Yes, you're right about the Aquaman sequel, Android 118XX. So he's making changes to all these films because Black Adam was shit. I know for a fact Black Adam was shit before Zaslav ordered the changes. What you saw from Black Adam was, I forgot the word for it. It was a spectacle. The VFX was amazing, and it was about superhero comic book action because they couldn't make the whole movie again and make it a better narrative. The script was problematic. Of course it was. when the film ends, you feel like you're eating a sandwich without enough meat in it. But it's entertaining enough. John, do you think the new Wonka movie will be good? Yes, I do. Yes, I'm excited for that. I like the actor. I'm very excited to see what that's going to be. Yes, I can't wait for that one. I mean, I love Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Paul, make your thoughts on a possible future sale of Warner Brothers to Comcast Universal so Disney finally has major competition. Enjoy your take on entertainment. Thank you, Paul. I think it's blatantly a rumor. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. I think it's media who have it want to put pressure on David Zaslav. So that may not happen. Obviously, if Warner Brothers was to be swallowed up and not be called Warner Brothers anymore, it'd be like the 20th Century Fox situation. It would be devastating. A few years ago, they nearly were bought by Disney and they fought that off. So I hope it doesn't happen, my friend. I love Warner Brothers. They are my studio. I love them. I've got friends who work at Warner Brothers. I don't want Warner Brothers to be swallowed up and to disappear. So at this point, I think it's just a bland rumor. Abraham Herrera. So was there more action than the screening you watched? Zack Snyder. Hey, Zach. Yes. Look, the version of Black Adam I saw wasn't that good. No. Not as good as the movie I saw, no. Android 118 XX. I remember Zaslav quote when he said he watched those upcoming DC movies, but he can make it better. Hence the reshoots. That's exactly, remember what I said to you when everyone goes, you see, Mick, the Flash is still coming. And I said, there'll be major changes. Abraham Herrera, what does Universal have? Fast and Furious and Monsters. Yes, I prefer the Universal movie division because they've got I think they do Despicable Me and Minions and all that, which I absolutely love that company, the animation company who do that. But the TV division, I don't like very much at all. But at this moment in time, the NBC Universal thing is pure rumor, because obviously they know there's an interest. But just because they have an interest, it doesn't mean Warners are going to sell. They can't do anything until 2024. By 2024, Zaslav would have turned this company around and DC around. So people will be chomping at the bit, but it doesn't mean anything. It was another Hollywood Reporter rumor. I don't believe it. So that's my opinion on it. I don't believe it at all. So, yeah, that's something that doesn't concern me, because I think it's important that Warner Brothers stays an independent studio. And if it doesn't, and if it's swallowed up by NBC Universal, Comcast, that would be, it will make them huge, because to have the DC, Harry Potter IPs and the hundreds of great IPs they've got would be a very powerful acquisition. And just because Comcast fed some information to the Hollywood Reporter, just because they want to buy WB, it doesn't mean WB want to be bought. So there you have it. But it could happen. It absolutely could happen. Anything's possible. Abraham Herrera. WB used to be the best studio. Now it's the industry's bitch, being bought by everybody. Yes, and it's a shame, Abraham. It's a shame. John, I don't think the Ben Affleck Batman trilogy rumors are true, nor do I. Android 118 XX, when I saw that video of Henry confirming his return, I couldn't believe it. And then he went beyond by saying his little cameo was only a taste, and there will be big upcoming things for Superman. Yes, very exciting. You can't take that quote out of context, because it's there. It's there. He's back. He's back. Simple as that. So he's been out of the picture for too long. He obviously was holding Emmerich and Hamada over a barrel, because even though they didn't want him in the movies, they didn't replace him. And I think this is why they were going with the Black Superman thing, because they couldn't bring in another Superman in the DCEU. Cavill obviously had them over some barrel, so there was a checkmate situation between the two parties. But it's all over now, which is great. So yes, there should be big announcements for Superman. We've had the biggest of news tonight with Peter Safran and James Gunn running DC Studios. I think in this kind of situation where the options are limited, this was probably the best bet. You've got one producer who knows WB, and you have the other producer who's a movie director who's made really good comic book fare thus far. But there's buffers. There's DeLuca, there's Adby, there's Zaslav. So there's a good team here, which I think could produce some great stuff. Fingers crossed. We move on from this creative bankruptcy we've had in the DCEU. The DCEU is a mixture of creative visions, and that's the problem with it. Android 180XX. Now we also want confirmation of the Batfleck movie. Well, that's the odds for that, my friend, are very, very long. Anything's possible. I don't know. Abraham Herrera, Henry did the right thing, staying quiet throughout the storm. No wonder his face is the first one we saw after all that. Yes, unlike Ray Fisher, he kept his mouth shut, but he was making moves. He was protecting Superman behind the scenes, the way it should be done. Henry comes from different stock. Henry's not the type of guy to come out and be blatantly rude. And I think that's the difference. And this is why Henry in the end got what he wanted and Ray Fisher didn't. Ray Fisher caused the storm, yeah, but he also lost a prominent role. But maybe if Ray didn't expose Walter Hamada, Hamada would still be here. So I'm certainly grateful for what Ray did, I suppose. But it's been a very exciting night. It's been an absolutely tremendous live. If you've got anything else to say before I go, please say it and I'll respond to it. But it's been, we're Tuesday. We're still Tuesday, right? I don't know if it's still Tuesday in Cyprus. It's probably Wednesday by now. John, what's going to happen with Mike and Abby now? Who's Mike and Abby? You mean Mike DeLuca and Pamela Adby? They are the co-chairs of Warner Brothers Pictures. They will remain the co-chairs of Warner Brothers Pictures. James Gunn and Peter Safran are not in charge of Warner Brothers Pictures. They're in charge of DC Studios. Abraham Herrera, but I think the studio also resented Gal, Ben and Jason for supporting Zach that one time. Well, the old leadership. But to be fair, Abraham, vocally, publicly, Jason was quite supportive. Gal played the game, I think. Now and again, she came out, but mainly Gal remained very quiet. She played the studio game. Jason is the one who I like the way Jason was supporting Zach. And they lied about the Frosty movie, which was embarrassing. And he came out, he goes, there's no Frosty movie. So, yeah. Paul, Ray sounded like a pawn in Zach's game of chess with WB. Will Ezra regenerate at the end of the Flash movie? What, like Doctor Who? I think it's a very delicate situation with Ezra. I think they're going to play it by ear. If it turns out the Flash movie is so good and the response is so good and everyone's in love with Ezra, he may stay. I think they're going to have to make a decision about Ezra now. What do they do about this? And James Gunn enjoyed his experience of Ezra Miller when he turned up on Peacemaker to do the Flash cameo. Look, I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's a very difficult, complicated situation. And I think still right now, it would be unfair of me and it would be dishonest of me to say he's definitely out and he's definitely staying. I think it's something they know more than us. They know if he really is making an effort to change, if he is fit for purpose, if he is damaging the franchise. These are things they're going to have to decide. Android 118XX, what can you predict for the DCEU with James Gunn in charge? Do you accept James Gunn as the head of DC Studios? I absolutely do. I'm very excited. I think the mixture of a producer like Peter Safran and a veteran director like James Gunn, on paper is good. But it's all about results. It's all about what they give us. So I accept them and I'm excited for their appointment. But they have to give us the content that we want to watch. In other words, it's not about them making projects I demand. But when I see what they do, I want to enjoy it and think, wow. And I want to hear critics loving it. And I want to hear the box office being big. That's how you know. But I just want them to do the best by these DC characters. John, I'm glad that Henry gets to play the Superman he wants now. So do I. Abraham Herrera, Ezra just needs someone who is not afraid to slap the shit out of it. Yeah, all right, okay. I think we'll leave it at that. But absolutely, Paul, looking forward to more lives, Mick, when major news breaks. Bring on Batman Beyond. That would be great. That would be great. Let's see what they do now, because all the rumours because they're the Hamada plans. They're dead. The Abrams team, all dead. So they're going to have their own plans. They'll keep some things, and I'm pretty sure that Green Lantern will happen in a movie theatre with an ambitious movie. So interesting, very interesting. And thank you for the appreciation, Paul. Always very, very good to get positive people and talk to positive people, because the internet is full of negative people, isn't it? And what do negative people do? What the points make? Negative people trigger us and make us negative. So they're no good. Abraham Herrera, I used to love the Batman Beyond show. It was so intense and so mature. John, James Gunn always responds to fans. He does, and he's very measured in his responses. I will say that. I think he may have muted me by now, because I think I overreacted to something he said once, and I think he's had enough of me. So never mind, that's a shame, but not to worry, James. No hard feelings. I fully support your appointment, because for me, it's about you making DC great, and I don't care about anything personal. But yes, James does respond to fans. He's responded to me many times, so that's good. And he got a lot of hate from Snyder fans when he had kind of the Justice League in Peacemaker. I said earlier today what I would have done. I wouldn't have brought in Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman if he couldn't use the actors. I just would have used Jason and Ezra and just said the rest were off-world doing another job or something. That's how I would have done it. But it was good. And you know why James decided to bring the Justice League? Because what is the thing we always hear in a Marvel movie or DC movie? Oh, why didn't they call on the Justice League or the Avengers? Well, James went, all right, then, we're going to do that. We're going to try and get the Justice League to help us with this alien invasion. So he tried to cover his bases. That's how smart he is. Abraham Herrera, is the Guardians Holiday Special directed by James Gunn? Everything Guardians is his baby. But I think once he leaves the franchise, then I don't know what they're going to do. Android 118 XX, before Batman Beyond, before Supergirl and Batgirl and Black Superman, we need to get our main characters right and give them a 10-year run. Yeah, listen, I think, look, the MCU used the characters they could use. So everyone said, oh, look at these grade Z characters they've made successful. It's because they didn't have Batman. They didn't have complete control over Hulk or Spider-Man and all that. So they used what they had to use, and they did well. And they stuck to a certain selection of characters in phase one. So I think you're right there. You have to get, the houses in order, but you also don't just want to stick to Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman. You want to expand. Someone like James Gunn could do a great job with Plastic Man. I like him in animation, and it'd be great for kids. John, did you see the Flash season 9 linked pictures on Twitter? I did not. Anything exciting? I hear Javicia Leslie's going to be involved in that season. Anyway, so Arrowverse is pretty done, and I'm glad about that. Very exciting. And I want us to have more Vigilante from Peacemaker as well, because I thought he was great. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. It's been absolutely fantastic. If you've got anything more to say, please say it. If there's no comments, I shall wrap it up. But it's been an absolute wonderful night. We've had some great comments. All the comments have been great. Really enjoyed answering them. It's been very positive. It's been another exciting day for the DC Extended Universe and DC live action as a whole. It's been interesting in the past few years. There's been a lot of drama. John, great live. Thank you very much, John. Very much appreciated. But yeah, it's been a bumpy road for DC, hasn't it? Even though I've enjoyed a lot of the movies. But yeah, it's been a bumpy road. It's been emotional. You've been here with me while I helped fight to release the Snyder Cut. I thought that was the right thing for me to do. when I first opened my channel. But now I'm hoping that we get something that everyone can enjoy. And I think certainly with these two people running things, I think it's people who understand what this franchise needs to be. And it definitely needs to be family friendly. Doesn't mean you can't have offshoots like the Batman and Joker. You can do that. But a mainstream connected franchise needs to focus on the mainstream audience because they want to make money at the end of the day. That's the name of the game. It doesn't mean the movies have to be bad or mid. It just means you need to appeal to everyone, including families and children. And I'm young at heart, so I'm okay with that. Android 180XX, what are your thoughts on the rumoured Ayer cut being actually released? Now, this is interesting. Now, David Ayer was very, very supportive to James Gunn during the promotional campaign for the Suicide Squad, which would have helped. That would have held him in good stead. He has shown the film to a fan who runs a Release the Ayer Cut account on Twitter. So the reports back is it's really good, much more of a different film. And rumours are that he did speak with WB. I don't know how true that is. I think because of his loyalty to James Gunn, now he's in charge, that could help. So we could get Release the Ayer Cut. And I'd love to see it. Again, it's going to be on HBO Max. I won't have access to it straight away. It's the same thing again and again, and it's very, very frustrating. But for David's sake, and for all of our sake, it'd be great to see that film. But who knows what they're going to do and what they're thinking. You know, they may just want to forget about all that. They may want to forget about Snyder altogether. It's a very interesting time. And what does happen to Ben Affleck's Batman now? Who is going to be Batman in the DC Extended Universe? These are questions that are going to have to be answered. Because with Hamada gone now, the Michael Keaton things up in the air, especially them shelving Batgirl. So there's lots of questions to be answered. And in the coming weeks and months, they need to answer them by their decision making and their actions, because Hamada has left a bit of a mess behind. And it's another tidy up for the DC Extended Universe. But I think having a DC Studios, having a 10-year plan, having two guys like Safran and Gunn involved is very, very important. And for me, it's the right decision, and it's an exciting decision. So, everyone, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the interactions. But if you can do me a favor, when I do a pre-recorded video every day, please comment. Don't spam, but say something. And please like, because the more you comment and the more you like on my videos, if you like me and if you want my videos to be seen, please comment, please like, and please share when I do the pre-recorded each day. That support would mean a great deal to me. And so if you can remember to do that, if you want to do that, because I don't get that many views anyway, so it's difficult. But if you guys, you know, the 50 people a day who come in and see my videos, and I know some of them are floaters, but for the main people who are interested in what I've got to say, please comment and like and share. Very, very important. Thank you for your continued support. It's been an absolute pleasure again. Communicating with you live. It's been another exciting day and evening. It's evening here in Cyprus, as you can see. Very late. It's probably about 1 a.m. I don't even know what the time is because I switched my phone off. But yeah. So, this has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Android 180XX, Auf Wiedersehen. Yes, you took the words out of my mind. So until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, all together now, Auf Wiedersehen. See you tomorrow, everyone. It's another great day to be a DC fan. And you know, with me predicting that this announcement was being made this week, you know, even though I don't have many interactions or subscribers or followers on Twitter, you know, I know stuff. You know I'm connected to the industry. I think you now get that I'm not a Billy bullshitter. So please keep it here on Movies TV Mad here on YouTube and at Movies TV Mad on my Twitter. I promise you, you will never miss a trick because I live, eat, breathe, and crap entertainment. I love it. As a young boy, all I had was my little TV. Without that TV, I probably wouldn't be alive today to be able to escape. Entertainment means everything to me, and I live, breathe, and crap this stuff. So thank you for being part of my journey, and I hope to continue to be part of your journey, because at the end of the day, what are we? We're all fans here. I'm not anything special. We're equals here. I happen to just have the confidence to do this, and you're passionate enough to come in and listen to someone talking shit about what they love, and we interact together, and it's great. Anyway, I've been talking far too much. I'm about to faint from nervous exhaustion, so I'll see you again soon. Thank you for the support. Thanks for coming in, and hail DC! Yes!